Good day, everyone. I am Annalyn Elatadero, a fourth-year student taking a Bachelor of Elementary Education. So for today's video, I will going to discuss my assigned topic in Module 2, which is the basic models of communication. So before we discuss our main topic, let's define first what is communication. Communication is the essence of life. It is a necessity. To express themselves, human beings need to communicate. An individual has to communicate to express his feelings, pass on information to the other human beings, and share his thoughts and feelings. Communication is a two-way process where the speaker and listener participate using different techniques and methods like sounds, gesture, sign, symbol, and body language. So the first basic model of communication is linear model. A linear model of communication is defined as a one-way communication in which only the sender sends a message or information to the receiver, but the receiver does not send any feedback to the sender. So it means that linear model is non-interactive communication. So the speaker or the sender send the message and receiver only receive the message with or without effect. So it also presents a simple communication act because the transmission of message shows only the beginning and the end. And there is no interchanging of words between the sender and the receiver. So the components of linear model communication: sender, encoding, decoding, message, medium or channel, receiver, and noise. So first is sender. Sender is the person, speaker, who sends a message after encoding. Encoding is the process of converting the message into codes compatible with medium or channel and understand for the receiver. Decoding is the process of changing and encoded messages to understandable language by the receiver. Message is the information sent by the sender to the receiver. Channel or medium, it is a tool that can be used where the message can be sent to the receiver. Receiver is the person who get the message after decoding. And noise is the description that are caused in the communication process in channel or in understandability of the message. So noise is a barrier of the message. So this is the basic illustration of the linear model of communication. So the message flows in the straight line from the sender to the receiver. There is no concept of feedback. The only task that the receiver does here is to receive the message only without giving a feedback to the sender. So example of this model are listening to a radio, watching television, receiving a text message, and sending an emails. So this is the models under linear. First is Lasswell model. This linear model of communication was introduced by political scientist and professor Harold Lasswell in the year 1948. It effectively covers the significance of one-way communication or interaction and explain the process of communication. So according to this model, communication is the transmission of a message with the effect as the result. So Lasswell models aims to answer the following 5 important questions regarding to its elements. First is who or the communicator, who created the message. Second is says what or the message. What did they say? Third is in which channel or medium. What channel did they use, or it's TV, radio, blog, and so on. The fourth one is to whom or the receiver. To whom did they say it? And the last one is with what effect or the effect. So what effect did it have on the receiver? The next one is Aristotle model. This communication model revolves around the different elements such as speaker, audience, speech, occasions, and effect. In 300 BC, this linear communication model was developed, and it had its main focus on speakers and messages. So in Aristotle model, this model was assigned to examine how to become a better and more persuasive in communicator. Aristotle suggested which is the speaker, speech, occasion, audience, and effect. Next one is Shannon and Weaver model. This model was established by the two American scholars Shannon and Weaver in the year 1941. It is a mathematical model for technical or machine communication such as telegraphy and telephone. According to Shannon Weaver's concept, communication is effective if the channel has no distorting or noise producing factors. So, Shannon and Weaver model is a linear model of communication that provides a framework for analyzing how the messages are sent and received. The next one is Berlow's SMCR model, which means source, message, channel, receiver. David Berlow developed this model in the year 1960. Berlow's model was created to better comprehend human communication in general. And it influenced by a variety of aspects, including communication skills, attitude, knowledge, socio-cultural system, the manner in which the message was conveyed, the message's substance, the receiver's senses, and so on. Berlow's model of communication is unique in the sense that it gives a detailed account of the key elements in each step. This model explains communication in 4 steps. First, source, or the sender, carefully puts their thoughts into words and transfer the message to the receiver. With the help of communication skills, the source needs good communication skills to ensure the communication will be effective. Second is attitude. The source need to make a good impression on the receiver. Next is knowledge. It refers to the clarity of information which the source wants to transfer to the receiver. Social system. The source should be familiar with the social system in which the communication process takes place. And last is culture. To achieve effective communication, the source needs to be acquainted with the culture in which the communication encounter is taking place. This is important for cross-cultural communication. The next one is message. Message is the speaker create the message when they transform their thoughts into words. Under of message is content, elements, treatment, structure, and code. The content is in which the script of the conversation. Elements, it includes body language, gesture, facial expression, and etc. Treatment, the way the source treats the message, and to be aware of the importance of the message so that they can convey it appropriately. Structure, The source will construct properly about the message to ensure that the receiver will understand it correctly. The last one is code. All the elements, verbal, non-verbal, need to be accurate if you do not want your message to get distorted and misinterpreted. The third one is channel. Under channel is all our senses are the channels that help us to communicate with one another. Last one is the receiver. A receiver, it is a person who received the message from the source. To understand the message, the receiver should entail the same elements as the source. They should have similar communication skills, attitudes, and knowledge, and be acquainted with the social system and culture in which they communicate. So the second basic communication model is the interactive model. It also known as convergence model, which deals with exchange of ideas and messages taking place both ways from the sender to receiver and vice versa. So this interactive model, it deals with the exchange of ideas and messages taking place both way from the sender to the receiver and vice versa. So this model incorporate feedback in the field of experience, in which make communication are more interactive. It also a two-way process. So this is the basic illustration of interactive model. It puts more focus on the interaction and less the message, as it is concerned communication process as a whole. It aims to form bonds and relationships among people, the commonality of experience between the sender and the receiver. So, it makes the communication process more engaging. For example, the example of this model is instant messaging and the questions and answer portion. Another example of this interactive model is the Wilber-Schramm's model of communication. Man's build of experience affect the communication process according to Wilber-Schramm, because the commonality of experience is taking place between the sender and the receiver, allows them to interact. So the components of interactive model is the encoder, source, decoder, message, feedback, and field of experience. Encoder, source, or decoder, the person who originates a message is the source. The encoder and decoder are the same person or source. The second source is also encoder as well as decoder. The source acts as an encoder while sending the message, as the decoder while receiving the message. Message. Message is the information sent during the interaction. Feedback. The decoder forms a second message after receiving the first, which is known as feedback. Field of experience is the experience and knowledge that the source process which affects the message formation and interpretation. The third one is transactional model. In this model, it is exchange of message between sender and receiver, where each take turns to send and receive messages. Both sender and receiver are known as communicators, and their role reverses each time in the communication process, as both processes of sending and receiving occurs at the same time. The communicators can be humans or machines, but humans are taken as communicators in this article to analyze general communication between humans. The model is mostly used for interpersonal communication and is also called circular model of communication. Transactional model is a third model of communication. It illustrates how the sender and the receiver take turns in conveying and receiving messages and are referred to as a communicator. The communication is continuous and they are interdependent to each other. The field of experience incorporates what is mutually understood between the sender and the receiver. So this illustration shows that both the sender and the receiver of messages must be active at the same time to keep the communication open. This is why transactional communication can occur in case the person receiving the message and is able to listen on what the sender sent. The best example of this model is talking and listening to friends. So the important factors affecting the transactional model are social context. It is fact that society decides the way people can communicate with each other. It also refers to the rules and restrictions that every person has to follow and the ones limit their ability to communicate as per their personal desire. Next is relational context. It refers to the manners and previous relationship or interpersonal history. It also pre-established values and norms shape the manners of human beings. Next is cultural context. It refers to the identity and lifestyle of people. It includes numerous aspects like class, nationality, gender, race, ability, sexual orientation, and ethnicity. People from a similar cultural group can communicate in a better manner compared to people belonging to different groups. Criticisms of transactional model. First is misunderstanding. Second is a lot of unnecessary noise. So that's all for my report and I hope you learned something about this topic. Thank you for listening.